Hi guys, it's Sophie and I am going to be doing my August wrap up today. So I'm actually splitting it into two halves this time, so we'll have part one, part two, because I just can't do it any other way. I've tried spreading them out, but I read lots and little throughout the month and it just doesn't work, and the big ones at the end annoy me. So split in half will be fine. We've just got 7 to talk about now. Okay, so the first couple that I read were novel 2 and 3 of the Fearless 3 bind-up, so that's actually novel 8 and 9 of the series. I think I spoke a little bit about this one previously. They are a series of books that I read when I was very young, never finished them and wanted to. So yeah, they were fine. I don't think I'm going to carry on unless they make more bind-ups, because there are like 50 odd books in this series. If they do bind them up, then I will grab hold of them and just get through them, but if they don't, I don't want to buy them all individually. And the next one I read was Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. I know this is a lot of people's favourite Murakami, but I actually didn't like it all that much. I don't know if it's because of the sort of mood I was in when I was reading it, but it felt like it went on forever and that it was just, I don't know, it felt very depressing. And I know that sometimes his books are depressing and the characters are sort of quite depressive people, but it just was, it felt really dark and really felt a bit empty. I am, however, enjoying the aspect of Murakami that some people find annoying, in that you have a narrator who's actually outside of the action. It's contrary to what we used to be told in my writing class of, is this the most interesting part in the whole story? No, then go there. Why are you telling a story about something that's not interesting? But it is interesting because it gives you a bit of distance from the characters, and I really do enjoy that. This novel is essentially about a boy who falls in love with a girl who's mentally unwell, and they both share this sort of traumatic experience with the death of one of their friends when they were young, and it's about his life and figuring out what she means to him, and also sort of her life in coping with this traumatic event. And the next one I read was White Noise by Don DeLillo. This book kind of broke me. I didn't expect it to, and it's nothing like it says on the back. From what I read on the back, it was about two sort of people in education, a college professor and his wife, and their marital difficulties. It's not even vaguely like that. It's really odd. It sort of describes itself as postmodernist, and if it is, I've never read a postmodernist book before because I don't know what on earth this was. It made me think about an awful lot of things, and it forced me to think about a lot of things in terms of sort of philosophical ideas that I wouldn't have necessarily come up with on my own. It also had so much going on, like it's insane how many weird things happened to this family. I don't say that I could recommend it, though I think I gave it 3 stars, purely because of the fact that it was quite hard to read, and as a book it wasn't all that enjoyable, but I do think there's some useful stuff in there. I don't know, depends what kind of writing you're into. And again, on the theme of books that broke me, I have The Familiar, part 1, which is One Rainy Day in May by Mark Z. Danielewski. I'm not going to hold it up because it's so heavy. This book doesn't make any kind of sense. It was a massive slog for me, but it was worth it, and it's very hard. It's really genuinely difficult to read. I wouldn't class it as reading in the same way that those other books are reading. The language is difficult, the layout is difficult. You feel like you're translating, you don't feel like you're reading. That said, I do want to pick up the next one because when you sort of get there, I feel like now I understand like what all those colours mean. I understand what the nonsense words mean, and if I pick up the next one, hopefully I can get straight into the story rather than figuring my way through it like I had to do with this one. And I read Horo Store by Grady Hendrix. So this is one I actually read at the very end of July. It is a horror story told in IKEA, essentially. It's not IKEA because brands, but it is. And it's very strange. It didn't scare me, which is my sort of earmark for horror. If it doesn't scare me, I can't say I love it. But it was okay, it was an okay story. It was definitely an interesting concept. I had sort of expected it to be more catalogue-y than it was. It is definitely a story but with elements, and I'd wanted more of the catalogue element, which sounds so boring, but that's all I can say really. And then the second to last book I'm going to talk about in this part is You by Carolyn Kepnes. I did want to do a review of this one, thus the sticky things. Haven't got around to it yet, but I may well do a review of it soon. This is a thriller novel about the relationship between a stalker and his stalkee, and it's told essentially in the second person, so he's addressing you, who is the stalkee, and obviously that affects the reader. It's got an interesting way to tell a story, and I don't think I'll say too much more about it than that, just because I think in all likelihood I will review this at some point. And then the very last one I want to talk about is Our Endless Numbered Days by Claire Fuller. I very much enjoyed this one. This was probably my favourite of the ones I've spoken about so far. It's a debut novel, and I'm pretty sure it won a prize in terms of debut novels, but I can't remember which one it was. If I remember, I will annotate. This is one that I think I saw on Jen Campbell's channel, and it is essentially about a father who lies to his daughter and tells her the world's ended and that they have to go live in a hut in the middle of nowhere. I spoke about this one a little bit in my last video. I thought that it was creepy, but not scary. I thought that the writing was lovely, and I would be excited to see what else she writes, because I think it was a good story and I think that there were definitely elements I enjoyed, but I do think that she can improve. It being a debut, I did feel its debut-ness, if that makes any sort of sense, but I did genuinely think, you know, for a first novel that someone's put out, especially since the author actually came to writing quite late, so it is most likely one of the longer pieces of writing that she's written, it was very good, and I would recommend you pick that one up if you're into sort of creepy stories. So that's it for part 1 of my August wrap up. I will film the other one most likely on Monday, on the 31st, when I've actually finished all my reading for the month, and I'll have at least another 7 to show you then. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I will see you soon in my next video. Bye bye.